Yo, what is going on, guys? And in today's video, I have made a presentation going in depth on why traders stay unprofitable, okay? We see this statistic all the time as traders, right? What percentage of day traders become profitable? And the answer is very small. About 5 to 10% of day traders become consistently profitable. And honestly, like, again, it says here, longer term, it's probably even less. So let's break it down why traders actually stay unprofitable. And there is a lot of connections and similarities between everything that I'm about to mention. And we can start by breaking it down into two different categories, right? Mechanical, so actually, on the charts, actually placing trades. And the other is psychological, between the ears, your psychology. So let's break it down. We're going to start with mechanical. And the four main categories that I want to discuss when it comes to mechanical issues with day traders. Number one, no discretion or no edge. And that is simply from people not journaling. Guys, if you are not journaling, you are not taking trading seriously enough. If you don't journal, you often do not have data to back up your decision. If you go on the charts and you place a trade, what are you making that decision based on? This also ties into lack of repetition. Guys, have you even back tested your model, the model that you're currently trying to trade on an eval or a live account? Have you even back tested your model? Have you seen what works and what doesn't? And if you've never journaled or back tested, how are you able to identify what an A+ setup is from a B or a C setup? Your discretion and your edge is created when you have data to back up your decisions that you're making in the market. If you don't have discretion, if you do not have an edge, then what says you're going to be profitable? For me, as you can see right here, this was my journal for January. These statistics right here tell me that I'm going to be profitable for the months to come because over a bigger sample size of trades, I was profitable. Now, as you can see, not every trade is going to be green. As you can see, the last couple weeks of January were a little bit harder to manage. But again, even if I take a loss, I know that in the long term, I will be profitable because again, I've journaled and I have the data to back that up. If you lack the reps, if you don't journal, how are you going to know that your system is profitable? And how are you going to know what to stay away from? When I journal, I'm writing down everything that I'm thinking when I place the trade. And if it's a winner, I'm explaining why it played out. And same thing if it loses, I might have missed something in the moment and that is the result of the loss. So I can go back and be more mindful of it when it happens again. So once again, if you don't journal, you're not going to know when to stay out of certain situations. Guys, I'm sorry, but journaling is a no-brainer. It's a given. If you want to take trading seriously and you want this to actually, make a full-time income, you do want this to be your life, then you have to start taking it seriously. You have to journal. You have to put in the reps, whether that's backtesting, not saying that you have to collect all your data from a live market, but backtesting is also a great way to start putting in those reps and tracking data. That is how you build your discretion and that is how you build your edge. And that's how you're able to identify what an A+ setup is and, differentiate it from a B or a C+ setup. The next thing that I want to go over is the wrong model. Guys, I truly do believe that there is a model or system out there for everyone. I trade a continuation model. It is just what makes the most sense to me. And it's the most simple. That is just what makes the most sense to me. It's very simple and easy to trade. When it comes to my trades, I don't really like taking a very technical, ICT, like crazy terms for like simple vocabulary when it comes to, these market concepts. I'm just a very straightforward kind of guy, displacement, retracement, invalidation of the retrace to a draw on liquidity, and I'm content with that. But not everyone thinks the same way and not everyone's going to want to trade the same way. That's why I think it is very possible that what could be holding you back is your strategy. And I know a lot of people like to say, you should stick to a strategy. You shouldn't change strategies every single week. I agree. You should not change your strategy every single week, as I have listed right here. But this is where backtesting comes into play, right? You should not even be allowed to think of switching your strategy until you have backtested and documented and journaled over 100 trades. Until you are able to confidently say that this strategy is not for you, which again, you can't do unless you have the data to back that up, then you should not be switching your strategy. Now, let's say you're one of those people who truly thinks that the strategy that they are using is not for them. And you can confirm this by whether or not, you're over trading, you're risking more than you should be, you're not sticking to your plan. This very much makes sense if you are not confident in your strategy, if you're not confident in your plan. If I'm trading a strategy that I'm not very confident in, then obviously I'm going to be a little bit more inclined to, trade something that's not my system, break my rules, overtrade, risk more than I should be. But once again, on the contrary, if you are trading a system that you're confident in, you shouldn't really ever feel the need to overtrade, to over leverage, to trade outside of what your trading plan tells you to do. But you guys also have to realize when you switch your strategy, you reset your learning curve every single time. So like if you're changing your strategy after every loss, your learning curve resets. So I highly recommend, if you truly do not think a strategy is for you, you need to have data that backs that up, okay? Back testing, journaling. Again, everything kind of ties into itself. And again, all of these reasons put together are the main reasons why traders take so long to become profitable, if at all. And the next bullet point comes to risk management, okay? And again, if you're not confident in your strategy, if you're not confident in your system, it's going to be very easy to break your risk management rules. Taking several trades a day, sizing up after a loss, not being content with the money that you are making. And so in turn, you get greedy and try to make more. And oftentimes it results in disaster. Not having a fixed dollar amount risk per trade. I mean, guys, these are all things that lead to unprofitability. For me, I risk 500 bucks per trade. I try to aim to risk $500 per trade, no matter what. Sizing up after taking a loss, you would never see me size up after taking a loss. That makes no sense. That's as emotional as it gets. And for me, in the current way that I trade, I'm not taking several trades in a day. The most I'll take is, honestly, I won't take more than 2 trades in a day. The model that I trade is low frequency. However, I do understand that there are models out there where it requires you to actually take more setups and more trades. But specifically for me, taking several trades in a day is usually a bad recipe. So I'm hoping you guys are starting to see kind of the correlation with all of these. You not journaling and not having discretion in the market leads to lack in confidence. And that lack of confidence in your strategy then leads to poor risk management, you know, sizing up after taking a loss. And then eventually it leads to over trading, which is probably the worst thing that you can do. You shouldn't be trading every session. Guys, more trades obviously does not equal more money. If you're forcing trades for the dopamine rush, then trading is not for you and you need to go find that dopamine somewhere else. But all of these mechanical issues tie into psychology, which again ties into why traders stay unprofitable for so long. Every trader should be journaling. Every trader should have data to back up their decisions on why they're actually taking the trades that they are. You should be able to identify what your A+ setup looks like. You should be confident in your strategy. You should not be changing strategies every single week. And you should have very, very strict risk management because again, in the long term, like we talked about, that is what is going to keep you profitable. Those were a bunch of mechanical issues that tie into why traders stay unprofitable. But now I'm going to talk over what psychological issues lead to traders staying unprofitable for so long. And again, guys, all of these ideas tie back into each other. But the first thing that I want traders to do is figure out why you're trading in the first place. And I guarantee what 90% of traders will tell you is that they're trading to make a living or to, you know, make an income, to make money, obviously, right? And you're probably thinking, well, obviously, isn't that the reason that everyone trades? And yes, obviously the long-term goal is to become profitable and to make an income that, you know, can sustain your lifestyle. However, when you start trading to make money, that is where emotions come into play because, guys, us humans are so emotionally attached to money. It's unbelievable. Have you guys seen that clip of that watch guy? He's in the mall or whatever, or he's in his store. I forget his name, but he's like absolutely screaming at this guy. He's like, "Where is my money?" That clip in a nutshell shows how emotionally attached us humans are to money. And I'm sure it was a lot of money. I'm sure the crash out was warranted. But seriously, guys, instead of worrying about the money and trading to make money, we should start trading in order to master the skill of trading. A lot of traders focus on outcome rather than the process, and that's why a lot of traders quit before they actually figure it out. If I'm a trader trying to become profitable and I am so focused on the outcomes that are happening day to day rather than the actual longer term process that I'm making within trading, it's going to be a bit demoralizing if all I'm doing is losing. But if I put the money aside, and it's obviously easier said than done, but guys, listen, if I put the money aside and I'm just thinking to myself, you know what? Screw the money, screw how long it's going to take. I'm just going to trade in order to actually master this skill. Don't you think that it would come a lot quicker than you think? Because I can confidently tell you that that is what will happen. If you put the money aside and you actually focus on mastering the skill of trading, trading, you're going to see profitability faster than ever before. Now, a lot of people, when they first discover trading or get into it, they think it's a get rich quick scheme. And so that's why a lot of traders will take themselves out of the game before they even got a chance to even achieve profitability. Using too much capital too quick. This is one that I actually ended up falling into. Back when I had no idea how to trade, I was trading options and I ended up losing $35,000 of my own money right when I started because I thought it was a get rich quick scheme. I genuinely thought I could make $1,000 a day a month into just first starting out. That obviously was not the case, and it was a major setback for me at the start. Shiny object syndrome and social media comparison both tie into together. Shiny object syndrome can apply to a lot of things within trading. If I see someone that has a strategy with a 95% win rate, I'm going to be thinking to myself, wow, I should probably be trading what he's trading. However, no two traders are going to think alike, and I'm probably not going to see the same results that that person is seeing. And the social media comparison is just an absolute killer within trading. Someone gets their first payout and it's only $500, and then they go and they start scrolling on TikTok and they see someone that took a $10,000 payout that exact same day. That's going to be a bit demoralizing, but what isn't shown is the process that took that trader in order to make that $10,000. I seriously don't recommend scrolling on social media if you are unprofitable, but if you are going to, you guys have to realize everyone has their own story. Everyone achieves profitability in a different way. But the main thing that I do want you guys to take away from this is to not risk too much capital off the jump. When you're first learning trading, when you're first starting out, you genuinely should have a job, and you should not be over risking. You should not be over leveraging more than you can actually afford to lose. That's why I think futures is so good. Like for me, I did start with options. This is another reason why I think futures is so good, is because you do not need much startup capital to actually start making money. But if you don't have a profitable system and you don't know what you're doing, you really shouldn't even be on an eval or live account at all. Next is fear and greed. And this one is like one of my biggest pet peeves when I see traders trying to become profitable. They will put a time restraint on themselves. They're going to be like, oh, you know what? I'm going to give myself 6 months. I hate to make an example out of this kid, but have you guys ever seen Jake Ryan? Well, to my understanding, he made a bunch of money selling a course for like drop shipping. He ended up losing all of that money. And then immediately after, he's like, I'm going to be the first person to make 6 figures trading in only 6 months. And this is just such a bad look for the trading community and like traders in general, because it genuinely makes it look like it's that easy. But again, it's not, and I would be willing to bet my money that that kid is going to get humbled. When you put a time restraint on yourself, you are putting pressure on yourself with every single trade that you take. If you have bills to pay, you should not be trading in order to make money to pay off that bill. Because again, you're going to make emotional decisions. You're probably going to risk more than you should, and you're going to put yourself in a deeper hole than you were when you started. Again, this is where that greed comes into play. You know, if I have a bill that's due at the end of the month and it's like $2,000 and I made $500 today. Well, man, I made $500. If I just make 500 more, I'll be halfway to paying off my debt. And you lose that trade, and that puts you back to break even for the day. Well, I at least have to get the 500 back. I'll be content with 500. And then you take another loss and another loss, and it keeps spiraling. And you end up losing everything. You end up blowing the account, and the same thing happens. And so you feel anger when you lose, but euphoria when you win, and you act on both. And this is not what you should be doing. You should be content with your winners, and you should try to learn from your losses. And again, do not put time restraints on yourself. As you can see, I put a screenshot here of a student who asked me, he asked if I thought he could become profitable in a month. And I just told him straight up, you can't put time restraints on yourself when you're trying to take trading seriously. And last is your identity. This is another big one, and I've talked about it in previous videos, but trading should not take up your entire emotional state throughout the day. If I take a loss in the morning, it should not affect how I'm feeling later on in that day. You should also not judge yourself based on short-term outcomes. Just because you lose today does not mean you're a bad trader, and obviously does not indicate that you are not going to be profitable down the road. You do not have to win every single trade. A winning system comes from losing days. This is why backtesting is so important. Building your edge while not actively putting on risk in the market. Not being able to detach from the P&L. Again, trading in order to make money, not actually trading to master the skill. Guys, literally everything in this presentation that I've made correlates into one another to some degree. And again, like makes trading their life. Guys, you should not trading should not take up your entire emotional state. Again, I'm completely fine with taking a loss while on vacation because I know that it's not going to have an effect later on in the day. That's why I traded in Miami, because if I were to take a loss, it really would not have affected my day. But other people, it's not like that. As you can see, another conversation with one of my students, trying to change my life. So trading is a thrill for me. I want it to be normal though. As you can see, this guy is putting tremendous pressure on himself because trading is the only thing that he really has going for him at the moment. You guys need to find hobbies. You guys need to find joy in other aspects of life. Trading should not be the last resort. And again, guys, like literally everything in this diagram all interlock with each other. They are all connected at some point. And the unfortunate thing about trading is that the majority of the things that I just talked about are canon events and will happen to you at some point, no matter how new or old you are within trading. Every human's emotional about the money. Everyone first starts trading in order to make more money, but you will shortly learn that once you start trading to actually master the skill of trading and putting the process over the short-term outcomes, that you will start to see progress a lot faster. You should not be using too much capital way too quick, because that will take you out of the game sooner than you think. And again, like shiny object syndrome and social media, I just very much recommend, if you are new within trading, to stay off of short form, content like TikTok and Instagram Reels. You should not be watching that stuff, because 9 times out of 10, the content on those short form sites, it gives the wrong idea about trading, and it's just not good for you to consume that kind of content. Time restraints. You should never have a time restraint on your trading. If I give myself 2 months in order to become profitable, how do you think that's going to end? I'm going to be putting tremendous pressure on myself, and when I lose, I'm going to get that fear that this is, might not work out, and I'm going to act on it by trading more and more and more. But when I win, I think that I should be winning more money. I'm not content with the amount of money that I'm making, because I get that euphoria and that sense of, oh, I could make more if I just took another quick trade. These are all terrible, terrible things. And I'm hoping that, when I explain it like this, it's very obvious to see how these are bad things within your trading. You guys need to detach from the P&L. Not every trade needs to be a winner, and you should not be judging your performance based on short-term outcomes. And trading should not be like the end all be all in your life, right? Like, you should have hobbies outside of trading. Trading should not be the last resort. So again, guys, these are the main reasons in my eyes why traders stay unprofitable. I appreciate you guys for watching this video. If you guys want to work with me, the top link in the description will be to apply to my one-on-one. There's also a free Discord in the description if you want to check it out, as well as my other socials. I'll actually post this in the Discord as well if you guys want to refer back to it in the future. But again, I appreciate you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.